on this trade was very, very visible, and you can see that it's still in place, and it's only just now started to find a buyer. Now that doesn't mean it's a sell on bonds. It's not a negative correlation, guys. This is not a negative correlation. A lot of people think when we show this that this is a negative correlation, so if this is dropping, this should rise. That is the case, but remember, tips and bonds are not negatively correlated. So for this to happen here has to be dramatic, right? You may be saying, okay, I don't quite understand that. Well, let's take a look in the background. Are tips and bonds negatively correlated? No, they're positively correlated. They actually are positively correlated. If we look at this on a longer term hourly chart, and I look at the shape of the tips and bonds markets, you'll see that the tips and bonds are, as a rule, positively correlated, as a rule. Now, when the tips start to get exposed, when people buy tips and sell bonds, the bond will keep selling. When people do the opposite, people will, when we start seeing, for example, the tips are selling here and the bonds are buying, the bond will keep buying until people start buying a lot of tips markets. So when people buy too many tips, they're buying inflation. They're buying for the possibility of inflation. As soon as they start buying tips against bonds in the short term, the bond will fall, and the bond does fall. Unfortunately for a lot of people, you only see that after it starts to happen, but that gives you confidence to hold a position, right, Reeve? It gives you confidence to hold a position rather than necessarily get into a position. It's a very, very good excuse to hold on to the trade that you've got at the present moment. So when I see the tips are very, 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 very short in this phase here, it gives me confidence to try and stay long the marketplace. I want to try and stay long the marketplace through that phase. And obviously it's up to me to try and be in and about those types of trades. Now elsewhere, of course, we've also got the European tips markets, and the big question is, were they telling us the same thing? Yes, they were telling us the same thing. Look, they're cheap. So what does that tell you? They're selling tips, buying bonds. They must be short inflation. This is a short inflation market right here. So when we see that they're short inflation here, I'm expecting bond prices to go straight up. What else can we use? Well, we've obviously got things like the absolutes, something we talk about a lot. Was the absolutes bullish or bearish? The absolutes have been nothing but bullish, really, since the whole US session started. They haven't really ever sold off at any stage. There's a little bit of a flat top at the top edge, but they haven't really sold off at any stage. So the absolutes are very bullish for bonds, not at top edges, but they're very bullish for bonds at bottom edges. So when we understand that, you can start to recognize just why we had confidence in a mid-price area. Think about what we did there. We didn't try and call a bottom edge. We didn't try and call a top edge. The price was trading 2022s at the stage when we called this live. We said that the bond would have higher to go. The bonds just traded 29s. This is a long bond, not the ultra bond. So when you think about how good that little call is, it makes an awful lot of sense, doesn't it? Makes a lot of sense. Oh, I never even got a like for that tweet, Kim. For God's sake, what's up? I think those are the kind of trades that make you stand out from the crowd as well. I never even got a like, a single miserable bloody like for that tweet about calling the long bond at that stage. Bunch of miseries, honest to God, yeah, a bunch of miseries. Guys trying to make a career here of being able to teach, and nobody even likes what the storyline is. You know what I mean? People go, well, never mind. It's always tomorrow. It's always tomorrow.